Happy Friday, guys. I'm here, it's Charli Wall, by the way, and I'm here with your question of the week answer. This week, somebody emailed me and asked me a question, which basically consisted of, who am I? I'm not sure what my purpose is. I'm not sure what I'm doing here in the world. Maybe I'll figure it out one day. And when I emailed her back, I said I'd answer it on this Friday question of the week section. So I hope the lady finds it helpful, and you might find it helpful too. So let me know if that's a question that you have considered, because often when I talk to people, this is one of the common questions. It's what am I meant to be doing? Am I doing the right thing? Am I living into my full potential? I don't feel like myself. I feel like there's something missing. I feel like there's a part of me that I'm not fulfilling. So, you know, in my experience personally and working with people, that disconnect can cause quite a lot of suffering for people. And it's really common for people when we have those periods of uncertainty or insecurity or a feeling of kind of not being sure of our destination, or just a general feeling of unease, that we assume innocently that it's because we're not doing the right thing, that somehow our fulfillment or our happiness or our well-being is dependent on figuring that piece out. So I think it's really interesting to ask yourself the question, like, who are you? Who am I? Who am I? And when I've asked myself that question, so if you asked me that question, say 5 years ago, the answer that I would have told you would have been around my personality. It would have been around my strengths and weaknesses. It would have been around what I did in the world, whether I was a mother, a daughter, a sister, my values, what matters to me, what I thought I was good at, what I thought I was bad at. Yet what I see now is that those details are just a tiny fraction of the story and not the truth at all of who we are. So what I want you to kind of think about is underneath all of that form, like what we consider to be in form, so our body, our behaviours, our psychology, our thoughts, our, you know, all the things I just discussed, our psychology. Underneath all that is like a pot of well-being, an innate sense of truth and light that we just don't really take much notice of. And I would have to say that kind of, that vitality, that life force, that isn't separate from you. It is actually who you are. And I spent my whole life, my whole adult life, my whole career, looking in the direction of that form, like my humanness. Everything from my personality to my past, to my behaviours, to my thinking, to my results and my achievements. I had a really good eye for that. I was fascinated with that, and it looked complex to me. It looked to me that to do well, I had to master all of it. I had to work on my personality, work on my shortcomings. I had to build on my strengths. I had to overcome my past if I wanted to bring my best self to anything. I had to get better thinking, change my thinking. The job was hard and the job was endless. And, you know, what kind of, that, for all those years that I was doing that did kind of work for me, because I was up for all that hard work. I had a really good attitude towards working hard. I've always worked hard, so working hard on me was no different really. But what I can tell you now, looking back, is that it was exhausting. I didn't really get anywhere, and it was pretty pointless. And yeah, it's kind of like an endless search into who I am and what I'm meant to be doing and what's my purpose and am I on the right path, and you know, questions that really are very difficult to answer and quite hard work. So I was often puzzled and perplexed as to why I couldn't seem to master certain areas and why I seemed to fumble where it mattered most to me, and I just couldn't get it. I couldn't get you know, how like this constant work of trying to make the form do what it was supposed to do, or get it the way I thought I wanted it to be, i.e., you know, in all of my careers and trying to make things okay and doing the best that I could and getting more qualifications, and like the form part, like my body, trying to make my body a certain way and just not accepting where I was at in any moment. And in a way I was missing where the real leverage was. I was playing in that world of form and not realising where it was actually coming from. I didn't really appreciate that we are both kind of this rich, complex, diverse, messy, juicy human beings, and we're made of something much, much deeper, much truer, like the essence of ourselves, which never ever changes. Like, that's our constant. When I started to factor in both the humanness, the form, and this deeper nature, it had a really big impact on me in considering the fact that I am both, that I'm not just this human that needs managing or tweaking or fixing or self-improving and working on. I'm not just that which I see. Now, in quite a lot of my programs, I talk about an iceberg analogy, which I didn't make up. I got it from my own mentor. He talks about 10%, like if you look at an iceberg, 10% of that iceberg is above water, and that's what we see, that's what's visible to us. But 90% of that iceberg is under the water and it's invisible to us. So the 10% of the iceberg that we see is a bit like the world of form that we see, our body, our thoughts, our behaviours, our achievements, our likes, our dislikes, our preferences, our talents. That's the world of form. But the bigger part of the iceberg, the 90% that's under the water, is invisible to us. And what if that is true of us as well? So I would say that that part, that 90% that's invisible, is absolutely essential. And for a long time, that invisible part of me didn't get my attention. It wasn't getting much of my curiosity. Although, saying that, when my brother died, I did start to explore the spiritual nature of life, and that event happening opened my eyes to me being curious about the spiritual relationship to it. But I didn't have a personal relationship to that part of me, and prior it looked like something I needed to wield. I needed to learn to wield so that I could get the life that I wanted. I thought I needed to learn how to listen to it so that I could do this thing called life right. But I wasn't ever really considering that that was a part of me always, that we are both this amazing, rich, messy, vibrant human and this incredible life force, this deeper nature. So if we step into the world knowing who we are from that angle, both the form and the formless, the visible and the invisible, the psychology and the life force, things occur to us to do. You know, somehow we know what to say, sometimes, and in some ways we show up differently because we're not completely concerned and full of our complex issues, our past issues, our conscious issues, our faulty thinking and all of that. Like, that's a full-time job, looking there. But what I want to point you to is that we are both spiritual nature and human. We're both of that together. And from that place, you don't have to do anything to figure out if you're on the right path, right? Because I personally have done a gazillion jobs, like loads of jobs. I started off as, teacher training, and then I went to nursing school, and then when I quit that, I worked in shops, and I've been waitresses and done all sorts of things, and everything. And I wouldn't say I particularly enjoyed those at the time, but everything now kind of seems to have fallen into place, in the sense that I no longer have any judgment on what I was doing and when I was doing it. It all seems to kind of come into a rich tapestry. Now I'm doing this, I do life coaching, I work with women predominantly. I was a fitness coach, so I kind of learned about nutrition, and I learned about running groups, and the wonderful nature of women. And obviously I worked in addiction, so everything in my life has kind of led me to this point. Now it's not over, and who knows what anyone's purpose is, but if you're looking at that question as there's something wrong with me, there's something missing from my life, there's something outside that I need to get that I haven't already got, you're going to feel a disconnect, and you're going to be thinking there's something wrong with you, and there is nothing wrong with you. Like, you are probably exactly where you need to be. And yeah, if you want any more help around that, let me know, and we can set up a chat, or just let me know if that's helpful in any way, or if you hear anything in that. And I'll hopefully see you soon. Take care, see you next week.